So, babe, guess where I'm taking you today?
Where are we going to go?
We're going to go out to a place that has over 2,000 natural arches.
Ooh, that's neat.
More than anywhere in the world, actually.
That's snazzy.
We're going to go to a place that dozens of movies have been shot here.
Ooh, this place is sounding more and more interesting.
Including Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, and also, in 1999, Mission Impossible 2.
Ooh, actually, that's unexpected.
Where are we taking everybody to?
We're going to Moab, Utah.
Put your seatbelts on.
Here we go.
Did you know that 46 million Americans plan to take an RV trip in the next 12 months? 90% of recreational vehicle owners take 3 or more mini vacations every year. Welcome to the RV Destinations Podcast. If it's RV travel, we're talking about it. From campgrounds to museums to national and state parks, kayaking and hiking opportunities. One of the most fun and pleasurable things you can do is just hit the road. So be ready to be inspired. Welcome in to the RV Destinations Podcast. Now your host, President Randy Beheimer and Editor-in-Chief, Caly Beheimer.
Hello, and welcome to the RV Destinations Podcast. This is the podcast series where we talk everything about RV destinations all across the United States and Canada. I am Caly Beheimer, Editor-in-Chief of RV Destinations Magazine. Thank you. Yes. I applaud myself. Applaud. And across the room from me, and I can see you, but now everybody else can see you too.
We could be seen by everybody.
We can be seen. I'm not going to let people know that I have pajama bottoms on.
That's good.
Just my cool RV
I
t-shirt.
see you. Yeah, I see you sporting your new gear.
I am sporting my new gear. I know. RV destinations. And then, do you need some destination inspiration?
Yeah, so you can introduce who I am? People
yeah.
probably don't know.
They have no idea at this point. They are clueless.
That's right.
So I'm hanging out with this guy. His name's Randy Beheimer.
Yep.
Maybe you heard of him. Maybe you haven't.
Yep.
He's the president of this really cool thing called RV Destinations Magazine. And he's here with me today.
That's
he's
right.
actually here with me every day.
That's right.
All the time.
And we're live.
We're live.
We're here on YouTube, our first live video podcast.
I know.
This is something that's been in the works for a while.
It is. And today was a little rough trying to get this up and running. We had some glitches. And of course now, because the animals know. They just know. So I've got Zoe, my boxer, like laying on my feet. Gus, the cat, is over here now wrestling with Charlie, the dog. She had a squeaky toy earlier that was going nonstop. Gus is, I know he's waiting to jump up on our desk. Like, we'll be middle 5 of these in, and he'll be like, "What's up?" making a national appearance.
Yeah, so we have no guests today. It's just Caly and I.
know.
We were just out in Moab.
It was actually last year, almost at this time.
It was
we were
May.
there, April, May. Yeah. Almost. Can you believe it's been a year? See, Gus, there he is.
Nobody could see him. He hasn't made a camera appearance, but he's getting close.
He's thinking about it.
But anyway, so we were there, so it's just us two. We figured we'd start off the video podcast with just the two of us. And so we're going to talk a lot about Moab. And Moab is a very, very popular destination, especially for RVers.
Yeah.
There are... I was going to say hundreds. I don't know. There's a lot of campgrounds out there.
Yeah, there's a lot. I wouldn't say hundreds, but there's a lot of campgrounds. And this is like an outdoor lover's dream come true, especially when it comes to like ATVs, side-by-sides, 4-wheel drive vehicles, jeeping. Like there are a lot of trails just for that type of thing. On top of regular hiking trails, biking trails, rock climbing. I mean, it is an outdoor lover's paradise for sure.
Yeah, so basically to give a lay of the land, or kind of give you a little bit of history of Moab, let's say, is that back in 1870, it was a small settlement. It was basically a Mormon mission that was there. That basically they folded up because they were having too many problems with the Indians. The Indians were attacking them. They folded up, and then it wasn't reestablished until about 1880, is my understanding. So. Anyway, it stayed pretty small, but around 1950, shortly after World War II, they found uranium in Moab. And so, and this was all during the nuclear arms buildup. And so, Moab became a huge destination. Not destination, but huge uranium. Go ahead.
You can see the remnants of the mines there. Are they still actively mining?
No, they're not. I don't believe they're still actively mining. But you can see downtown some of the old buildings that said the uranium offices and stuff like that. And that was kind of really cool, I thought. So, but anyway, so 1950 is when Moab really got started. And then after they, and I'm doing a terrible job, hopefully anybody from Moab can write down in the comment sections if I'm wrong, but it sounds like that once the government stopped buying uranium, then they had to refocus their efforts for other things, and that's when the national park started coming in and tourism started coming in, and now it's a huge tourism
massively
place.
huge. It's always busy there, and in fact, interestingly, one of the things that we talk about in the top 10 deal with their uranium, like how much it blew up in that area for one person in particular. So that'll be interesting when we hit that one.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
And then, of course, everybody knows there's 2 national parks right there. There's also a state park there, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the top 10.
Yep.
So I don't want to give too much away. And also, well, we'll talk about that a little later. So you want to go ahead and just get into the top 10s? Fun facts. Well, that's what I meant. Fun facts.
Fun facts.
Okay, so this is coming off of RedRiverAdventure.com.
Okay.
And approximately 1.6 million people visit Arches National Park every year and combine 160,000 visits to Canyonlands and Dead Horse Point for a total of over 3 million travelers to Moab each year. And you see that.
You do.
We've been there, twice or 3 times?
Twice.
Okay.
You and I have been twice. I don't know if you went BC. That's before Caly.
No, I did not.
Life didn't exist before me.
So we were there in... Actually, I think it was April. I'm pretty sure it was April because I think we hit Zion on May 1st. So I think it was April we were there.
That sounds good.
And so the other time before, do you remember what month we visited this first time?
Oh my gosh! You know what? I think it was
in the summer.
I was going to say the fall. I remember it being a little bit cooler in the evenings, but I feel like maybe it's always cool in the evenings.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I believe we did visit in 2 different seasons. One being spring, one being either late summer, beginning of fall.
Yeah.
And it was busy both times. It was massively busy.
Yeah, like Arches had to go to a timed entry. So just heads up on that. We'll talk about that more in the top 10. I'm getting ahead of myself now.
You are. So let's continue on.
Okay.
So there's been dozens of movies that have been shot in the Moab area, including major hits like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
That makes sense.
In 1988, Mission Impossible 2, 1999, and many, many more.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like curious. Mission Impossible 2
Yeah, I'm
Moab,
not sure
Utah.
I'm not sure which scenes were shot there, but
well, sure enough, it looks like maybe it was the rock climbing scene when it opens up and he's like backwards on the rock. That was filmed there.
And that makes a lot of sense because there's a ton of rock
There's
climbing
a lot of rock
area.
climbing there.
In fact, a lot of the locals, a lot of the Utahlians, Utes, were they called Utes?
Well, Utes are an Indian tribe.
Right.
Yeah.
Utonians.
Utahlians?
I don't know. I
don't know
because
you have like Ohioans, Kentuckians, Floridians.
Right. Utahlians. If you're from Utah, please write down in the section how you pronounce your...
Is it Utahlians?
Utes.
Well, because you can't say Utes because of if you're not a part of the Indian tribe, you can't be a Ute.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, let us know. Please send us an email or put us in comments down below.
That would be great.
And let us know what it is. But yeah, that's. Now I lost my complete train of thought.
We were talking about movies.
Go
or not?
Yeah, there was a reason.
Climbing.
Oh yeah. So a lot of the locals there in Utah and Colorado go to this area to do a lot of rock climbing. That's why I was going to go with that. Okay. And so it doesn't shock me that they shot the rock climbing part in Mission Impossible there.
Okay.
So anyway, good stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so there's we said this on the intro, the world's largest concentration of natural stone arches, more than 2,000 are located in the Delicate Arch in Arches National Park, just a few miles from Moab. So largest collection of natural stone arches. Very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
As part of the preservation of the regional ecosystem, it's illegal to use any wood you find in the desert around Moab. You can buy fireworks for camping from local vendors. Yeah, so you're not allowed to pick up wood and
I think
burn
I remember hearing that. I think I remember seeing signs or something about that or reading that somewhere. Yeah, interesting.
So Moab is a biblical name for a kingdom between Jordan River and the Dead Sea. Utah originates from the Ute language and means people of the mountains.
Oh, very cool. It is very mountainous.
Very, very cool. The Fallen Pillar Balanced Rock. Fallen Pillar Balanced Rock is 128 feet tall. A small pillar beside it was named Chip Off the Old Block after it fell from its parent pillar in 1975. So there was a little. We saw that. It was beside the pillar or balanced rock, and it was a smaller one that fell over. So we did see that.
Okay.
So mountain biking is popular, very popular in Moab. Moab is recognized as the mountain biking paradise.
Didn't you and Trey mountain bike there?
Well, we did. We took our bikes out there, and the bikes never got off the back of the RV. So,
that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So, Slick Rock Bike Trail is the world renowned and often a challenge for even the most advanced riders.
Wow.
Yeah, Slick Rock's a pretty big deal. Let's see. Whatever. You've got a bunch of petroglyphs there.
Yes,
we'll talk a little bit about that.
those.
It is a uranium capital of the world. We talked a little bit about that back in the 50s. There was a lot of uranium that was mined in the area. And the collapse of arches. More than 43 arches in Arches National Park have collapsed since 1977.
Wow. But you know what? With the collapsing, because I know people are like, oh no, they've fallen down. They have been falling down since the dawn of time.
Right.
So they're always falling, and
more
the new
being
ones
created.
are being created. Right. So it's just the circle of life.
Yeah. In fact, we did an episode on this, and I'm going to look this up before we get to that on the top 10. But we had a ranger that came on the show, and we
episode
talked
29.
29. So go back to episode 29, and the ranger actually talks about how they're formed, and they're always being formed. In fact, when we went out to Corona Arch, which is outside of Arches National Park, we saw 2 or 3 being formed.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So they're all being formed. But anyway, since 1977, 43 of them have fell. It's a natural part of the life cycle of the Utah's magnificent stone arches.
Do you think they could not get up?
Nice. So the darkest night skies in the U.S. So Moab area is officially rated as having among the United States darkest night sky for ideal stargazing. Astronomy fans are awed by an unsurpassed. Usurped.
They usurped the stars. How dare they?
This print is so small. I'm really struggling. I thought it was saying usurped, but it's unsurpassed view of the Milky Way. So anyway,
usurp the Milky Way. Who knew?
One more here. So airplanes are prohibited from flying above Arches National Park due to the desire to limit noise.
Well, that's nice though. That's nice.
Doesn't make sense to me, but
I mean, I figure if it's high enough, you're not going to hear it. If it's low, yes, I get that. Yeah. We don't even live near the airport, but it's weird that sometimes we hear them, sometimes we don't.
Yep.
Even from where we are.
So because we're a video podcast now, we've got to limit our shows to basically an hour.
I know.
Or our cameras are going to overheat and shut down.
Right. Then we just disappear.
So let's get this thing rolling.
Okay. So number 10 is Eat and Shop in Moab. Downtown Moab itself is not like a huge area. It's very walkable. So street parking, there's some parking lots off the street. Park and just spend a day exploring downtown. There's a lot to do down there. So they've got a lot of great little shops, stores, restaurants, breweries, pubs, bars and grills, bakeries galore, ice cream shops, coffee shops. I mean, you name it, you're going to find it in this compact little town. Also, be sure they have this really cool food truck court, which is really, really neat. Yep. And it's located like right off the main strip, right behind some buildings. You almost can't miss it. How many do you think were back there?
Like, I bet there was 15 of them.
That's kind of what I was thinking, like probably 15, 20. All different types, whether you want just
we
tacos.
did the hot dog stand.
We did the hot dogs.
One of those hot dogs that throw everything on the...
And they're like this big.
Yeah, they're like 1,200 calories.
Yeah.
But
we don't talk about that.
They were pretty big.
They were amazing.
They were pretty good.
Yeah, and Moab is a very dog-friendly area as well. So we took Zoe down below us. We took her with us, and there's usually bowls of water out. We took her back to the food truck area, and there's like a nice covered area with those little kite thingies so you can, sit in shade. And it was a cool day, but the sun was out, so it was really hot. And for Zoe at least, because she's black and overheats very easily.
Yeah, so downtown, the first time we were there, we didn't explore downtown that much, but we did go into a shop and we bought all new plates. I'm talking about like kitchen plates, but they were carved with it, or they were handmade
in Mexico.
They were in Mexico?
Yeah, handmade in Mexico, but they all had like tribal designs on them.
Right, they had a southwest flair to them.
Yes,
but that was really cool. We bought that there, and then we also bought that statue that we got in our cubby there. But a lot of really cool shops. There's also a really expensive camera shop in town.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Remember, I ran in to buy. I don't remember what I needed. I needed something. There's a lot of sand out there, and so I had to buy a
little.
Yeah, little.
That's probably a really bad sound effect in motion right now for a video.
Yeah, I actually had it right there.
Right, that little puffy
an air blower
it's
thing.
It's like the little snot thing you stick up kids' noses when they're to suck it all out, except you use it in the opposite direction, and hopefully it's free of snot. That's what it is. It's literally what it is. You could have bought one of those instead of a little snot.
But I also bought a sensor cleaner. That was my main reason. And I came out with a new tripod. You were not real happy about the tripod.
I was not.
But anyway, so there's a lot to do, lot of restaurants and all that.
And I want to tell them too about Walker Drug Company, which is a drug store. But this is think of it like a huge kind of general store / drug store. If you want souvenirs, that is the place to go. They literally have everything. Aisles of mugs and T-shirts and keychains and Christmas ornaments and playing cards. It's there. So that's your place to go.
Yep. That's the place that we stopped and got some groceries, and then some. Didn't we buy some trinkets to take home with us there as well, like playing cards and stuff?
We sure did.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, you want to move on to number 9?
Yeah. So number 9 is See Ancient Stones. This is really interesting. So there's 2 really interesting kind of rocks. One is a rock formation. The other one is just, I don't want to say a plain rock, but it's just like a rock. The first rock formation is off of Route 191. 191 is that main stretch of road that goes north and south through Moab. So this is off Route 191 south of Moab, where Route 211 intersects 191. And there's this big sandstone rock sitting out in this field. It's private property. And it kind of looks like a beehive. And if you drive coming from the south north, it looks like there's a hole in it. There is. And there's a very interesting story behind this. So this rock is located near a former utopian society that was headed up by this lady, Marie Ogden. And she believed that this rock was located near the spiritual center of the universe. So the name of this rock became the church, because she ultimately wanted to hollow this big thing out and turn it into their church for their little utopian cult group. But it was on private land.
Here, have some of my Kool-Aid.
Right. I mean, it was literally like drink the Kool-Aid. She at most had 100 members, and then it all kind of fell apart and disappeared, and then she moved away. So that's one of the rocks. It's really neat just to kind of look at and see. I don't know if I would recommend walking onto this person's private property, because it's still on private property.
I would definitely say we're not recommending that.
Yeah.
There is a fence around it.
There is a fence.
There's a fence along the road, so you can't get to it anyway. But it's fun to pull off. There is a little pull off there. Yeah. We stopped and pulled off, took a couple pictures. And all, we saw on the road signs that this was actually on the road sign. Have we confirmed that was actually what was on
That is it. Okay. I believe so. Now you're making me question it. We have to look that up.
So we believe, we're pretty sure that on the state road signs that they had this little, we're calling it a beehive.
It looks like a beehive. When you look at it, you're like, yeah, that looks like more like a beehive than a church. And the reason why it's called the Church Rock is because of this utopian society.
Right. And then tell us about the second one.
Yeah, so the second rock is actually located on Route 211, and it is the Newspaper Rock. And this is covered in petroglyphs, which is super, super cool. And what they believe this was used as was literally like the community bulletin board, where people would go by and carve in information about, hey, over here by the creek is really good hunting grounds, or hey, there's some bad weather that I think is going to be moving in, or hey, I went out for a ride over in this area and it was really good for harvesting berries. So it was literally like this community board, which is so cool. And it was incredible to stand there and just look at all of these petroglyphs and just wondering all of the stories of all of the people that went by this rock thousands of years ago and like carved their information in it. It's really neat.
So we're going to flash a picture up right here if you can take a look at that picture. So, it's really, really interesting, as Caly said. You've got folks on horses with a bow and arrow. I'm looking at a few. You've got these things that
they look like aliens.
They do look like aliens.
They totally look like aliens.
Maybe
I think
we were visited before.
We were totally visited. I am going with that. We've been watching too much Resident Alien, but now I am all for there's aliens on that rock.
But yeah. If you dig into some of those photos, I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Some of the things that they're drawing there. Some things
they were probably like, so this really large alien named Harry came and visited us. And here is the story he told us to tell you guys. And now we're looking at rocks like, oh, they probably told us these were great hunting grounds. And they're like, no, we were telling you about Harry, the alien.
Right. So let's move on to number 8. Let's keep you focused. So this next one, I didn't
drug you to this.
I didn't really want to include this on the top 10, but it's there. You'll see it. You'll pass it, especially if you're going down to the Needles District. We actually asked to be. We told them we were with the magazine and we wanted to take pictures inside. They would not let us. They would not supply us with pictures. And so they made it this big secret thing. And so we had to do it at that point.
Right. And it's hole in the rock. And it's not hole in, it's hole with the letter N. Hole in the rock.
So it is a tourist trap.
It is a tourist trap, but I have to say it's really cool. So what it is, it's the former home of Albert and Gladys Christensen. And it literally started as like this tiny little like alcove in this rock. And this couple went by and they used to think it was like a really cool area. They purchased the land and then they started digging into the rock further and further and further. And then Albert was like, we're going to turn this into our home. 20 years in the making it took to finish this place, between hand scraping and dynamite and getting it all out of there. It is 5,000 square feet.
Yeah. Going inside that was fascinating.
Yeah.
It really was, because this guy spent most of his life carving this out.
He ended up dying before it was complete, and his wife continued it as long as she could. And she was the one who kind of turned it into the tourist location so that she could continue getting money to continue what his dream was of this place.
Yeah, so we've got some pictures flashing up on the screen right now. So these are some pictures from around. Again, we weren't allowed to take any pictures on the inside.
Yeah.
And I thought really the inside was the coolest place. Outside, you've got a petting zoo.
Okay, the petting zoo is really cool because you can buy a little cup of goodies and feed it to the animals. I love that. I thought that was neat. But they've got a little general store there, a gift shop. They have ice cream. I think you got ice cream while we were there.
Yep, it was okay.
It was okay.
The truck
was
really
super
cool.
cool. So they have this full-size Jeep made out of like old car parts. And so this entire Jeep is fabricated out of bolts and
the
nuts
tires and everything,
calipers and everything. It was incredible, but full size, and it just sits there in the parking lot. And then they also had this like tower of bowling balls that was kind of neat.
Yep.
So very eclectic place. Definitely worth stopping by and do the tour. Pay the few bucks to do the tour of the house. It's pretty fascinating to see.
I would say, and I don't remember it was that expensive. I think it was fairly cheap.
No, I want to say like $5 to $8 a person.
Yeah, it was very cheap.
Yeah.
But I would save this for last. You got nothing else to do. You don't feel like doing anything else. Go there. Or if you're one of those people that you just see the road signs and everything drawing you in, go see it. But it wasn't my biggest thing. In fact, I'm shocked that it made it to number 8, because
I know you would have stuck at it, right? But I
would have made it 11.
You would have, but I thought it was super fun and I really enjoyed it, and I made the list, so I made it number 8.
All right, now number 7 I really enjoyed.
Yes.
Tell us about number 7.
So this is number 7 is Dinner with a View, and we talked earlier about that uranium kind of boom in town, and there is this former home of a guy. I'm looking for his name here. Where is it? Oh, Charlie Steen, not Sheen, but Steen, Charlie Steen. and this is his former home, and this is a really cool kind of rags to riches story. And he, like, when after World War II, and you kind of found that there was this need for uranium, and a lot of people were finding it in the Moab area, but just kind of on the surface. So a lot of the finds weren't really paying off for people. And Charlie really believed that he could find it deep in the earth. So he literally put his life savings into buying this drill bit and drilling like 200 feet below, ended up breaking the drill bit, gave everything for another drill bit. Like, this was it. They were destitute at this point, and broke through and found one of the biggest uranium, like, what we'll say, deposits ever. And he instantly became like a multi-gazillionaire overnight.
Right.
And so he had built this home up on this cliff. Beautiful views of the surrounding mountains of downtown Moab. And it's now a restaurant. So you can go up there and it still looks like kind of this like 1950s kind of style, what do they call it? Mid-century modern home. But every table has an amazing view. Definitely go for the sunset. It's a steakhouse, and the food was good. Yep. It was good. Yep. I wouldn't say it was, oh my gosh, mind blowing, but it was really good food.
It was worth the time.
It was.
And again, the views, I think, made it as well.
Right.
So you're able to see all the way across the mountainside. You see Canyonlands, essentially.
Yeah. And the sunsets were incredible.
Right.
They really were. So they have two different parking lots. The parking lot up top, there's not a whole lot of spaces up there. And it's a pretty steep drive up the driveway. So if you're not comfortable with that, you can park down at the bottom, and there's a shuttle that will come down. Yep. You just call a phone number, they come right down and pick you up.
Yep, and they stay booked pretty good. So we recommend you getting reservations.
We had to get a reservation to get in. Yeah,
right.
Yep, but totally worth it.
So moving on to number 6, walking with the dinosaurs.
Walk with the dinosaurs. Okay, so this is north of downtown. Is a place called Moab Giants. We did not get to do this, even though I wanted to. This would be a great place for kids. So it is an indoor and outdoor museum and attraction. They've got a bunch of different things. So on the outside, they have like this dino trail with all these life-size replicas of different dinosaurs that would have been found in this area. They also have a 5D aquarium, a 3D theater, gift shop, different things like that. The playground, just a lot of super fun things, especially if you have kids. That would be great to take them and learn about dinosaurs. Now, if you want to learn about dinosaurs and that type of attraction really isn't your thing, no worries. Head a little bit further north, past that place on 191, and there is the Mill Canyon Dinosaur Track Site. And this is, just on open land to everybody. And there's like walking paths and little placards and describing everything that you're seeing. You just walk around by yourself and look at everything. But there are like actual dinosaur prints, like stuck in the stone, which I just think was so cool to see all these different prints. And it was amazing.
Yeah, we'll talk about. But we got there by side, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But also, if you're spending many days in Moab, this is going to be like I think you can get to it in a day. But Dinosaur National Park, I think, is about 4 hours.
Dinosaur National Monument.
National Monument is about 4 hours north of Moab. I believe it's about 4 hours. So if you've got a full day. I think she's going to confirm the mileage because I might be off.
You might be, Mr. Seattle.
I might be off. No, I think I remember being 4 to 6 hours.
It is 3 hours and 10 minutes.
Okay, so I was right.
Okay.
So I was right. So about 4 hours north is Dinosaur National Monument. And that was really cool. So if you got the kids with you, they're really into dinosaurs, or if you were really into dinosaurs.
Yeah, go up there too.
You could do a side trip up there, or we actually relocated. So we left, we moved the RV and went up there. And what was the little town there? Do you remember that we stayed in? It's the only town that's...
of course you're asking me. I mean, is it literally Dinosaur?
That is when we took the motorhome over the scariest overpass I've ever been on in my life.
Oh, I think it was in Jensen. Maybe we stayed.
That's not
okay. Never mind. Vernal. There it is. Vernal.
So we headed there from Moab, and you actually have to go back into Colorado, cross over the mountain range, and then come back to Vernal.
Oh yeah, this is where it gets all Utah. Like do right there on Google Maps.
So we were going up the side of this mountain. I'll tell this really quick because we got limited time, but the concrete turned to gravel.
Gravel, which was still, because this was the end of winter. So they are still bulldozing snow off of this gravelly section.
And we're going up in our 41-foot motorhome, and we've got our Jeep behind us, and the guy behind us keeps flashing his lights at us. We're like on this, I don't know, 10, 15, 20% incline going up the side of this mountain that's gravel. And I'm terrified because there's no guardrails. There's nothing on the side. I mean, it's pretty much sheer drop off.
Yeah, sheer drop off. Yeah.
This guy's flashing. So I just stop in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
There's not much more. I can't pull over.
And we're like, we're stopping because, good Lord, if something's wrong, we're not going to go up this mountainside.
And this guy's wife comes running up to us and knocks on the, like, hey, your back compartment's open. And we're like, thank you. So Caly ran back there and shut it. But I tell you what, that was one of the scariest rides. We've been on a couple scary rides. That was one of the scariest rides just because it's not road. It's gravel.
It's gravel for a section. It is gravel. So
and maybe they were repaving the road. I don't know. But it was pretty scary. But
it's called Douglas Pass.
There it is.
Douglas Pass.
Yeah, it was pretty scary stuff. Maybe they've got it paved now. But anyway, moving on to number 5.
Number 5 is, now that we've talked about roads, now get off the road. And honestly, we talked about this in the beginning. Moab is the outdoor lover's paradise. Get off the road. And there are so many like off-road tour adventure companies there in Moab. So you can either rent a Jeep, you can rent a side-by-side, you can rent a four-wheeler, you can be a part of a tour company where you get your own and they take you out and you adventure all through the lands. We did that. We did a side-by-side. It was a blast. What would the guy, like, we went over all these hoop-de-hoos. Yeah, because it was like woo woo woo, and every time you went flying up, you'd get a little airborne. It was a blast.
So Caly's thing is driving. I'm not much of a
driving.
I like a nice car next to the next person, but she's all about driving.
I'm an enthusiast.
She was super excited about the side-by-side. I could take it or leave it.
Right. I was like, well, then let me drive.
Yeah,
so he did.
I'm like, you want to drive? Have at it.
Oh, it was a blast.
And then she kept saying, do you want to drive? I'm like, no, you're fine. I really don't. Yeah. It's not a thing for me. So, but we drove, and it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of dust. You got to wear a mask. Got to wear goggles.
The little bandanas and goggles, and it gets everywhere. But we also saw dinosaur tracks. We saw them not only at that Mills Canyon that I was telling you about, the Mill Canyon dinosaur tract, but there were some other places that they stopped just kind of out in the middle of nowhere again, where you can see dinosaur tracks. And then they took us up like through kind of that slot canyon, right? And at the end, beautiful view, and I think there was more dinosaur tracks out there.
It was a cool experience. It really was. It was worth it. And I don't think we spent much money.
I don't think so. Maybe like a
$30 a piece or something.
No, it was more than that.
$50 a piece.
No, I was going to say like $80-$90 a piece.
I don't remember it being that expensive, but it may be. And this was several years ago. So, but it was worth the time. If you're into that, especially do it. If you're not into that, it's still worth it if you want to try it. If you got, one of the spouses that are into it and one's not, I still think it's worth it. Because even though I'm not into side-by-sides, I had fun. Even with her driving, I could see the big smile on her face, even though she had it covered up. I could tell she was smiling.
Yeah.
So,
and this is also a place, like if you have your own side-by-side, Jeep, ATV, this is a huge destination for folks to bring them and go off-roading. There are so many trails you can conquer on your own or get a group of people. In fact, there's a couple of campgrounds that kind of cater to that and have extra space for you to bring like your toy hauler trailer to keep all of your fun little toys to go on adventure.
All right, so moving on to number 4. I want to keep this moving. We've got to be under an hour now. So serious ride. So this is one of my favorite things. I want to tell this one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we talked about this in episode, what'd you say, it was 29? 29. So this was one of my favorite things to do. And this is, I'm telling you, this is white-knuckle driving. And so if you have a fear of heights, and you don't trust,
or not a capable driver. And what we mean by a capable driver is your vehicle and you know what you and your vehicle are capable of. That's a capable driver.
Yeah. So you can enter it shortly after Moab. You go on to Potash Road. Potash.
It is. Where is it?
That's Potash, I think. I might not be
I'm looking. Route 279.
Right.
Yeah.
But I believe it's called Potash, is it? Or
Okay, you keep talking. I'll find it.
Well, it's Potas.
It's Potash. Potash. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's called the Potash Road, but then it ends into the Schaefer's Trail, and the Schaefer's Trail is what's well known because it doesn't turn into Schaefer's Trail until you actually get into Canyonlands National Park. But you're just kind of humming alone, and it's highly recommended that you have a 4x4. I would not take a low clearance vehicle.
And do
on
not
this.
think that your all-wheel drive Kia minivan is going to make it. It's
do
not.
Take it.
You need a 4x4 high clearance vehicle.
Right.
Do not think an all-wheel drive is capable. It's not.
So you pick up this road, as I said, in Moab, and you drive it. I think it's, if I remember right, the whole road might have been 22 miles.
I think that's about right.
That number is ringing in my mind, but that includes Potash Road, and then when you get actually you cross a fence. It's a very narrow road that goes through a couple little rock crop things.
Yeah, like you're in a valley.
Yeah, and it says you are entering in Canyonlands National Park. And then at that point, it becomes a Schaefer Trail. And pretty much when it comes to Schaefer Trail, you got a little bit of ways, and then you start heading up 1,500 feet up to the top. And I'm talking about some places, this is tight. We had a Jeep, so we were pretty fine. But a couple times we passed like big trucks that had to kind of put in their mirrors as we passed. Because there are no guardrails.
Nope.
It's a pure drop off the side. It literally is white-knuckle driving, as we're saying.
White-knuckle driving. And what's interesting fact about that, inside the national park, that Schaefer Trail was a cattle trail. And so they would move their cattle from up on top of the plateau / mountainside down to the bottom. And so that's what that was created for. It was an old kind of like cattle trail. And so the shepherd would move his cattle from up to down to up to down. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah,
so I thought that was fascinating.
It's a lot. We've talked about this on a previous show. It's a lot like the Mookie Dugway down near Monument Valley.
Yeah.
If you've done the Mookie Dugway and you were fine, you'll be fine. The Schaefer Trail. I felt like the Schaefer Trail, I don't know. Do you think it was scarier than the Mookie Dugway?
I don't think it was. I think the Mookie Dugway was more scary.
Do you?
I personally, yeah.
I felt like maybe the roads were a little wider.
I felt like they were a little wider in the
Schaefer
national
Trail.
park.
Yeah.
And it is inside the national park. So again, there's a stretch of the road that is outside of the park, another stretch that's inside of it. So keep in mind, once you're inside the park, you technically need to go and pay your park fee for being in the park if you enter that way, or if you have a national park pass like we do, you'll be totally fine.
Right, because it does put you out after the toll gate. So I think they're looking for the honor system there.
Exactly.
Because
so
you could turn left there and enjoy the whole park without paying.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's kind of the honor system. So. Now we decided to go to the park that way, but you can also come back to Moab that way if you're in Canyonlands and you want to drop down and go back to Moab that way.
Reverse.
It's pretty cool. But give yourself some time, because I think it took us about 3 hours.
Yeah, we had the dogs with us, and we took our time, stopped, let them run.
Right.
Let them run when we were still outside of the national park. Inside the national park, you can't really let them out to run.
That's right.
Yep.
So moving on to number 3.
Number 3, see the arches. Okay, so there are a lot of arches in this area outside of Arches National Park. And as we said, Arches National Park has like 2 million visitors a year, you said? That's a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That's a lot of people to battle to go see some arches. But there are plenty of arches to see outside of the park. Corona Arch is one that we hike to and is beautiful. It is located on BLM land off of Potash Road, and it's about a 2.3 mile out and back hike. It was, the elevation gain wasn't horrible. I think it's like 423 feet, so it's not a huge amount of up and down, but there is a spot where like one rock kind of dips down like this and picks up the other one way down here. And there's no way to get down there except by a wooden ladder. So you have to, take your time, get down that wooden ladder. And it wasn't too terribly high. It's not like you have to crawl down 20 feet or something like that.
Yeah, I would say if you have a hard time walking, I probably wouldn't do this one, because you do. I think there was a couple bridges, what I remember, not bridges, but ladders.
Ladders. I remember that one, and that was also on a section of rock that sloped down pretty significantly.
Yep.
And so it can get a little slippery because it is sandstone. So I would say it was probably a moderate to moderately hard hike.
Yep.
But you get to see the Corona Arch. Now out in that area as well, there's Bow Tie Arch, Pinto Arch, and Jeep Arch. are several other arches right around that same area. And then there's also kind of a famous arch heading south out of Moab off of 191, and that's the Wilson Arch.
Yep.
And you really can't miss it. It's on the east side of the road. You'll a lot of times see people kind of walking in and around this arch. And there's, I think, a hike there. You can either just see the arch or do some of the hike, but that's another one as well.
I think there's a rest. If it's not a rest area, it's a parking lot with some restrooms. But isn't that right before a hole in the rock, or is it right after a hole in the rock? Somewhere in that area,
right near that area.
Yeah. It's real close to a hole in the rock, but you'll see it. You won't miss it. But I really enjoy. We did not do Wilson Arch. We saw it from the road, but we did not climb to it. I really enjoy Corona.
Corona was beautiful.
I thought it was cool. It takes a really nice picture. So
yeah.
But moving along, so we're getting down to number 2.
This is my first live in person. You can see me drum roll. I'm a little nervous.
We're on number 2 though.
Oh, see, I'm getting ahead of myself. I scratched
so
off
excited.
number 2. I am.
So get outside. So we can't say this enough. This is an outdoor place. Everybody that comes here is outdoor, whether they're whitewater rafting, whether they're side-by-side, whether they're rappelling down a mountain, whether they're hiking out to arches. This is an outdoor mecca.
Yes.
Or bike. I keep forgetting that this is a mecca for mountain biking with slick rock.
Right, mountain biking. Rock climbing.
You also have bike trails around all of Moab.
Yeah, so there's an 8.5 mile paved path that follows 191, and it was really designed to be a safe way for walkers and bikers to get access to national parks in different areas and avoid the 4-lane road that is 191.
And that's a busy road.
It's a very busy road. So it was literally designed to help people, that want to bike, especially because biking is so popular in the area, to do that very safely. But there's whitewater rafting, canoeing. They even have riverboat cruises that you can go on with like a dinner at the end.
I had no idea.
I didn't either. I had no idea. I mean, it's literally, Moab is the place. If you don't like being outside, don't go to Moab.
Yep.
Because everything's outside.
Yeah. Let me preface that because, with arches, most of the arches are, you can see from the road and you can drive from one arch to the other arch to the next arch to the other arch. So if you're not a big, maybe you're a little bit older and just don't get out hiking a lot or do these active sports, don't be discouraged. You can go there, but go to the national park, see some of the overviews. Canyonlands has a beautiful, and then we've got, we haven't even talked about Dead Horse Point, our state park.
Oh yeah, that was another one. We were going to talk about that here. Yeah.
Actually, we were going to talk about that in number 1.
I wasn't going to. It didn't make sense with number 1.
Okay.
So,
but
Dead Horse State Park. Go to Dead Horse State Park, which is up near Canyonlands. Like, I want to say it like at the top of that mesa.
Yeah, so it's a little bit closer to get to Dead Horse State Park than it is to going out to Canyonlands.
Right.
And so one of the first things we did is we drove out to Dead Horse to do the big overlook. And what you're looking down on, and we talk about this in that podcast, the ranger talks about this, is you have different levels of layers.
It's neat.
Where the water is kind of eroded, but you're looking down in this huge canyon, and you see Schaefer's Trail down there. So you're looking way down, and that's the Schaefer Trail that you see the road going there. And I thought that was worth time to go up there and look at that point at Dead Horse State Point. State Park.
I highly recommend it. And just go back and listen to episode 29 because that ranger was the greatest,
she was a lot of fun.
Oh, she was so much, and the way she would describe things, and she was amazing.
She said she guided the kids, and so she was really good at using stories.
She was so
and stuff.
good.
She was good.
And she was amazing. Yeah, go listen to her.
And she dealt with us. But also, there's, again, whitewater rafting. There was, we saw a ton of rock climbing. We said that already earlier. And so you want to get out there if you're a big rappeller. This is the area. Kayaking, pretty much anything. Horseback riding.
Everything. Hiking, obviously.
Yep. All the national parks have a lot of hikes. So anyway, now
I can do it.
Now moving on.
I'm so excited.
To number 1. So everybody gets to see her face. Look at her.
I know. I'm like a little kid right now.
So give us your drum roll.
Okay.
The number 1 thing to do with Moab National Park, this should be no surprise to you, is go visit one of the 2 national parks or both of the national parks. Now, these are 2 separate national parks. You have to pay 2 separate fees.
Yes.
If you have a yearly pass, don't worry about it. They'll take them in both places. But As Caly said earlier, during the summer, Arches is now requiring timed reservation.
Yes.
So we didn't know that till we got there. We were able to get in a couple days later once we got there, and so I think the time entry is from and we talk about this on the podcast, from 7 to 4.
Yeah, it's
like
a
that.
certain time frame. They do stop the time. They just do it during their busiest hours, and that is, and honestly, you'll appreciate it, because Arches is one of these parks that is wildly popular. It's right there in town. You don't have to drive far away like you do for Canyonlands, especially the Needles district of Canyonlands. So it's very, very popular. Plus, you can see a lot of these arches without ever leaving your car. So if you are somebody that maybe can't physically get out there and walk to see these, Arches is a great park to visit because you can drive to these different locations. So that makes it very, very popular. So the timed entry is for those popular hours to help it not be so congested, so that you can find a parking place, so that you can not be stuck in traffic all day. So it's enjoyable. But then as the day goes on, they stop the time entry because the park isn't as busy. And then they just open it up for everybody. And I think that's I want to say at 4:30.
I'm pretty sure, I think it's 7 to 4, but what was interesting is Zion, was it Zion? Not Zion. One of the
Glacier.
other, Glacier had a different time zone or different time entry than, but I think it was 7 to 4. I may be wrong. Just check it.
Yeah, check it out.
Get out there on the national park site and see what it is. But and that's only during the summer. I think that goes off in the fall.
Correct.
So you don't
just
have to worry
for their
about
peak
the
season.
Right.
And then Canyonlands is a huge national park. And they have different districts. You have the main Canyonlands kind of on top of what I want to call the ridge or the mountain, the mesa.
The sky.
The sky district. And you are up in the sky. And then they have the Needles district, which is really cool and fascinating.
Yeah, and it's worth saying that the Needles district is almost an hour and a half drive. So it's
from Moab.
Right. So you've got to leave Moab and go south on, what is it, 191 you said?
191. Everything is off of 191.
You got to go down there, and then what do you turn on 290?
You turn on... it's back there where Newspaper Rock is.
Right.
So you follow 211.
211. So you're going to turn on 211. So it's about an hour and 20-minute drive down to the Needles district. You'll pass Newspaper Rock. I highly recommend you doing that. Don't go in without seeing Newspaper Rock. It's there.
It's so
right
cool.
off the road. You can pull off and see it. But the Needles, it takes a little bit of a commitment to get down there. There's some hikes. There's some very popular hikes. And unlike the Sky District, because the Needles District is not as popular, a lot of their infrastructure is not as large, so their parking lots aren't as big. And the parking lots can fill up, and the rangers will turn you away, so you won't be able to hike. So
and we got turned away.
Right.
Yep. So we went down there to hike one of these really popular hikes that sounded pretty cool, and a little bit of you needed a 4-wheel drive vehicle to be able to access part of it. And we got turned away because it was just too full. And he's like, at this point, we just have to wait for people to come out, and nobody's coming out. And then all these people behind you, they're all waiting to get in.
Yeah. So we had to change our plans and change the hike that we wanted to do, because we couldn't do the one we wanted. So we had to switch it around. But definitely make sure you get there early. That's one thing. Make sure you take in all the water. There's not a lot of infrastructure there. There is a small visitor center that you can get water and gifts and stuff like that. But outside of that, there's not a lot down there.
No, there's not. And there is camping down there. So if you are into camping, well, I hope you should be, because you're listening to RV Destinations Podcast. Right. But if you're, want to camp down there in the national park, you have that ability. But again, be sure to get online, see if you can make those reservations in advance, because these are very popular parks, not a lot of spaces available, or they might not be able to accommodate a rig your size.
Right.
So
do your homework.
Yes.
Do check it out for sure. That's exactly what it is.
Check it out.
So as far as getting around, you're definitely going to need a car or a bike at least. That path, that 8.5 mile path that's around Moab is really cool. I walked our dog on it, and if you go down towards the river, there's actually a lot of placards telling you a little bit about the history. There used to be a ferry where a gentleman, and I don't remember his name or remember all the details, but he would charge a fee, and he would, on his little wooden ferry, he would ferry horses and people over from one side to the other. But the whole story is there on placards down by the river, and that was kind of fun to read. as you walk down. But you'll see people walking their pets. You'll see people bike riding. You'll see people running. It's a very, very active town, Moab. So getting around, you're definitely going to need a car or bike or something like that. And as far as campgrounds, there's a lot of campgrounds. So I pulled up, and this part's brought to you by RV Life, and we're going to look at their campgrounds here. And I've sorted these by highest rated, and we've got I'm not sure where this is. This got one review, so I'm not going to one review.
27 stars.
10 out of 10 stars. JC's Park Campground, one review. I'm not even going to give that.
You can't.
Yeah, I'm not going to give that one. So let me go down to where we got more than 1 or 2 stars. Okay, so here's the first one. So Arches National Park, there's Devil's Garden Campground. That's inside the park. Again, a lot of times you can only get in there with 30, 35-foot rigs, so you gotta check and see what the requirements are. But that got 9.5 stars. Dead Horse Point State Park has campground there as well. Got 113 reviews, 9.4 out of 10 stars, pretty good. Horse Thief Campground got 9.1. 7 Mile RV Park got 9.7. Let's see, Kins Lake got 8.8. Let's see, Portal RV Resort got a lot of reviews, but 8.5 out of 10, so that's still pretty good. Spanish Trail RV Park and Campground, 8.2. Moab RV Glamping Resort, 8.1. That's a lot of reviews. The next one didn't get many, so I'm going to skip over that. Moab Rim RV Camp Park and Cabins, 8.0. There's just so many different campgrounds. Willow Springs, 7.9. Sun Outdoors. So Sun Outdoors has a couple. In fact, that's who we stayed at before. And this is Sun Outdoors Canyonland Getaway. That's not the one we stayed at. 7.7 stars. And then I'll do one more here. We got Goose Island Campground, 7.7 stars out of 10.
And there's new campgrounds popping up. I mean, from the time that we went there before to this time, there were so many new campgrounds. So they're like stretching further north and south off of 191, and you're just going to see more and more options. Right. And there is
actually, I think there's 2 KOAs down there.
Yeah, I think there's
one in the
2
north
KOAs
and south, I believe.
and 2 Sun Outdoors.
Right. Yeah. So lots of campgrounds, lots of places. Now it does book up. Again, we've said, the area gets 3 million visitors a year. So make sure you book early and make sure that you get your space. So anyway, so that wraps up everything to do with Moab. I mean, this is a fun place, guys. If you're thinking about it, don't think anymore. Get out there. Book your trip out there, especially if you like to hike, you like to bike, you like to especially if you like to rappel and that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that there's a better place than Moab to do all that stuff. So
Agreed.
All right. You want to take us out?
Yeah. So thank you, babe, for coming on the show with me today.
I had no choice.
Oh, you always have a choice, but you choose me. I love it.
I choose you every time.
Oh, thanks, baby. I love you too. So we want to thank everybody out there for listening. Be sure to get out there, rate, review, and subscribe to and listen to the RV Destinations podcast.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, please like and follow us on YouTube now, because we're going to start rolling these out every week, these video podcasts. We're going to make them very interactive. We're going to interject not only photos, but videos and everything to try to make them as interactive as possible.
So be sure to click that little follow, like,
yeah, you're pointing all over the place.
I don't know, because it's somewhere.
Below.
It's somewhere.
It's below.
It's just there.
She doesn't watch YouTube videos. It's below.
It's so bad. So, but yes, get out there, rate, review, subscribe on YouTube.
Follow and
podcasts, wherever you can find your podcasts, or out on YouTube.
She's struggling.
I am so struggling. You got me all off kilter. I have it memorized.
And we should say that Moab's going to be featured in the summer issue.
Yes. So you're going to get all this information, but way more detailed. Way more detailed.
In the summer issue for those that subscribe to the magazine.
All the amazing pictures that guy over there took.
Yep.
Yes. So thank you all. And don't forget to grab your free PDF copy of the top 10 things to do in Moab. Your copy is going to look way better than mine when you get it. So be sure to grab that.
Down in the notes section.
Down in the notes section. And then don't forget to get out there and subscribe to the magazine, rvdestinations.com/subscribe. If you use that code podcast20, you're going to get 20% off any of our subscription. That is a huge savings. We're in print and digital format. So thank you all out there for listening to us today. We appreciate it.
Be safe.
Safe travels, y'all.